For more, we are joined by former CIA analyst Ray McGovern. Thanks for joining us here on a very interesting day, considering we are watching the funeral of George H.W. Bush, and now we're going to be talking about the relationship that we have with Russia currently. So, Ray, you did live through the Cold War. You did live through those years, which came very close to starting a nuclear war. That was a serious threat back then. Would the U.S. withdrawing from the INF increase the risk and make it more dangerous, more likely to have an arms race with Russia again, and could increase the chances of actually having a real nuclear war?
Well, I can answer that in two words: John Bolton. Now, he was one of the people that Bush the first called the crazies, okay? They were crazy. And Bolton, of course, was responsible for getting out of the bedrock safety insurance of the ABM Treaty, which for 30 years, I was there in Moscow in '72 when that was concluded, okay? That was a big deal. And no one could take any thought that they could attack the other side under those treaties. Then he got out of that. Now he's getting out of INF. It'll be interesting to see if the European allies are so snivelly that they will put up with this, because as Putin has made clear, they're the ones that will be targeted by these missiles. Absolutely.
They're the ones closest. So now the U.S. has not provided any evidence, now there might be, that Russia has not been compliant with the INF. Do you think the U.S. withdrawal could just be a pretext to embark on maybe renegotiating another deal that the Trump administration could claim is a part of underneath their administration? Or do you think they're maybe just wanting to upgrade their nuclear weapons and not be constrained by this treaty as it stands?
You know, it's really hard to tell. They have legitimate worries about China, but that could be negotiated. You know, it's not ipso facto the fact that China and the United States have to be rivals. You know, so why Bolton is doing this at this particular time is something of mystery, other than the fact that he's against any such treaties and that he has this kind of unexplained handle on Trump. Doesn't Trump know what he's hired here? Apparently not.
Well, and then you have to look at, is there any other staff members? Because obviously, you know, all of his, it's not just coming from Bolton's aspect. You also look at Pompeo. You might even look at his chief of staff. You have to wonder, what does the U.S. and Russia have, what does the U.S. have to gain with this continued push to try to push Russia to the brink of war? Why does it seem like that seems like to always to be the steps that we continue to pursue down? What are these folks thinking that the U.S. is going to have to gain?
Two words again: Lockheed, Raytheon. I mean, the president made it very clear. It's money that drives him. And if there's no tension with Russia, how can you justify building more and more weaponry and selling more and more weaponry? I mean, it's the old military, industrial, congressional, intelligence, media complex, okay?
Oh, you added the media into that one. I've heard the industrial warfare complex, but I've never, the media, we're adding that one into it.
Media is the big new factor.
Okay.
Yeah, they're completely in on the act. Well, the media companies that run the cable and other news channels are owned pretty much by the ones that are profiteering on arms development and arms sales. So it's, you know, it's a no-brainer, but you won't hear that in the media.
Well, let's bring this back into the events of today and bearing President George H.W. Bush. This was one of his signature works that him and Reagan and everybody worked to. They actually worked for peace, and maybe they're not given enough credit for getting peace, but yet, you know, President Gorbachev does have a lot of fond things to say in honor of President Bush today. You know, what does it say about Trump that he wants to tear up something from someone he literally epitomized that he loves, like President Reagan and President Reagan's legacy?
Well, getting to George H.W. Bush, I had a long professional as well as personal relationship with him, and I have to say for the record that I've been waiting for any other news channels to call me, and you were the first and probably the only. Okay. Now, Bush was very perspicacious. He was very farsighted. When the Berlin Wall fell, he called up Mikhail Gorbachev, and he said, "Mikhail, sorry about your troubles, but we're not going to dance on the Berlin Wall." And indeed, he talked about a Europe free and united from Lisbon to Vladivostok. Okay, that's good. He had right instincts. What happened? When Bill Clinton came in and to get more East European emigre votes, said, well, let's get Poland into NATO, let's get Hungary into NATO, despite Bush's promise through James Baker, they're both at the funeral today, that not 1 inch farther toward the east would they go with NATO. Okay, so what did Bush do then? Well, you know, the commentators are saying he's very prudent. Prudence One of them said in the Post that prudence is what Aristotle and Aquinas called the cardinal virtue. Well, it's not. Courage is. If you don't have courage, if you can't step up to these things, then all other virtue is specious. That's what Aquinas said. Now,
right.
What did he do when Bush did that with NATO? Violating his promise. Like, Burr Fox didn't say nothing. And that's a lack of courage. And the same goes for his lack of courage in confronting his son when he knew damn well that this would be a catastrophe in Iraq.
Well, sometimes it takes courage to seek peace as much as it takes courage to seek war.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us, Ray.
Most welcome, Scotty.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.